Hope everyone is doing well today. Today I want to talk about something a bit more mundane in nature, and it has to do with the alternative community. Now, I've talked about my personal journey in the past before. I've mentioned the fact that I have been a formal member, I guess, of the alternative community ever since I first began to explore alternative topics and the areas of politics and culture. And that began probably in the mid to late 1980s. So it's been quite some time that I've been following events that have occurred. My first major awakened understanding of what was going on in the world probably occurred in the early 1990s after I read a book by a man named Bill Cooper called Behold a Pale Horse. At that time, I became more consciously aware of the military industrial complex and also the nature of the UFO phenomenon in the United States and beyond. And from this early awareness, I began to follow these things more closely and also to recall some things that had occurred to me earlier in life as well, which gave me a personal connection to a lot of the things that I was reading about. Being a military brat, I was raised in the military industrial complex. I grew up on military bases in the United States and around the world. My father was an NCO and an officer in the military, and all of my education was done in DOD's schools, Department of Defense related schools. And so my experiences on the military bases and around the military bases have kind of a strange tinge to them. And there are some things that I have inquired into and some answers that I have received as well that I'm not really prepared to speak about publicly at this point in time, but that hopefully at some point in the future I'll have a bit more clarity on. But I raise this point in order to impress upon you that my connection to current events is not just as an observer, someone who's witnessing things that are happening. As far as I'm concerned, I am a participant, as you are a participant, an experiencer in all that is going on in the world today. No matter how strange it may seem to you, no matter how weird or unusual, these things have some connection to us or the people that we know. So I've been a member of the alternative community for a very, very long time. And as I have watched it evolve, I have seen numerous different trends repeat themselves over and over in the AltCom. And these trends have arisen with concerning regularity. There are certain topics that come up again and again. And when they come up, there is a lot of energy given to these ideas, a lot of attention given to them. And then those ideas seem to suddenly crash and dissipate. And that energy is absorbed somewhere by someone, I suppose. And that really is the question. And the underlying question that I guess I'm seeking to explore here is there a difference between the alternative community and the mainstream media? I guess these days that is a valid question because we see that the alternative community has risen from the level of pure conspiracy theory, literally alternative, non-mainstream viewpoint to an almost mainstream perspective, in that the alt-right, the so-called alt-right, has achieved some semblance of validity with the election of our current president and the rise of some of his current and previous advisors. The higher visibility of some media outlets in the alternative community has also occurred, and this has given a lot of the ideas of the alternative community some mainstream currency. Now, of course, you also have Tom DeLonge and the To the Stars Academy disclosure event that's occurring simultaneous to this other alternative community conversation. And I guess you can't really separate the two. If you're not familiar with if you're not familiar with that, you should check out Tom DeLonge. He has gained possession of a number of videos that have been released by the United States military industrial complex. For the first time ever, we've released official UFO video taken by airplanes, military airplanes. The Pentagon released a lot of that information. And so this movement apparently has some kind of mainstream approbation. Now, Tom DeLonge also says he has some metal from a UFO, some unidentifiable metal, one that we're not familiar with here on Earth. Well, they're supposed to release that at some point. We'll see if that happens. But that's just another part of the alternative community that seems to be attempting to go mainstream. If you'll recall, back in October and November of last year, it was on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, Tom DeLonge and his To the Stars Academy, and the scientists and the deep state, I guess you can say, operatives who have come out of the woodworks in order to be associated publicly with this initiative. So you see a confluence of mainstream and alternative community topics and personalities. And it seems that certain things that have been hidden from the public's view are coming closer to the surface, are becoming more a part of our international conversation. And the question has to become, why? Why are these things coming to the surface now? Whose agenda do they benefit? If you have a mainstream pop singer named Tom DeLonge become associated with spooks, individuals who've worked in the CIA, in Skunk Works, in NASA, all these different industries, the energy department, places like that. And they're saying that unidentified metals that come from spacecrafts not of this earth are real. If they're releasing video from the Pentagon showing the existence of craft that move faster than any known craft from any earthly origin, what are they trying to say? Are they trying to say that there are aliens? Are they trying to say that there is an earthly government that has some sort of technology that is far beyond anything else any other government so far has proven capable of producing? Or are they saying both or neither? That is the question and the thing that we have to think about whenever we look at these initiatives and at the things that are coming to light these days. Now, in thinking about these issues as they pertain to the rising energies, it is a truism in the AltCom that whenever a high energy day or a high energy event occurs, the powers that be attempt to create some sort of false flag event or some sort of mainstream media event that harnesses the energy of the population, the national population and the global population, that will shift that energy from a positive output to a negative output. So any high energy days, as designated by astrology, by numerology, by prophecies, it seems that those days often have negative events that become associated with them. And this is a strategy that has been in evidence for many, many years. For those of you who've not done any research into the Tavistock Institute out of Great Britain, perhaps it would behoove you to do so, because we're talking about the mainstream media and the alternative media as well, really. For anyone who has been in the alternative community for the past decade or so, it is apparent to all who have observed the backs and forths and the ups and downs of this community that there is a large amount of infiltration in the community. And this infiltration comes in the form of trolls, for the most part, and also disinformation artists. People who purport to be whistleblowers and who come out with information that seems to be new and mind-blowing and explosive, but who are later proven to have been paid for their efforts and who were not truthful at all in what they say. There are also a number of alternative community personalities who have secret sources who give them information as well. And then they report that information to the rest of us. Now, a lot of them will admit that a lot of their sources are not necessarily the most trustworthy because they are secret sources and they're giving information designed to influence the alternative community. And since the alternative community is growing, it makes perfect sense that that community would be subjected to greater and greater amounts of psychological conditioning. So it makes even more sense that there would be departments and personnel and money dedicated to controlling the flow of information, not just in the mainstream media, as is traditionally the case, but also in the alternative media as well. So we have to be careful whenever we're looking into information gathering. Whenever we're out there surfing the web and we're looking for information on certain topics, you have to be careful about the websites that you look at. You have to be careful about the videos that you listen to. You have to look at the people and look at their history, look at who they associate with, as well as where they get their information from. You have to query that information according to your own internal barometer of truth or falsehood. And you also have to triangulate information. You have to seek other sources and see if you can find commonalities between sources of information. And gradually, over time and over years of researching, you will be able to build your own personal database of information. And you will be able to get a sense, increasingly, of what is really going on, because you'll be able to find that certain themes run through many different stories. And when you see commonalities within the themes, no matter what the details are of those particular stories, whether they have to do with dimensions, rising densities, coalescing UFOs, or inner Earth, or I don't know, inner Earth Agartha, Nazi, Antarctic bases, whatever the case may be, whatever it is out there, moon bases, dark side of the moon, alien goddesses, bases on Mars, whatever the case may be. All of this information begins to run together in your mind after a while. And strangely enough, it will seem as if sometimes you get these ideas out of nowhere. And what that is really is just all of this information kind of coalescing within you until certain points start to shine in the information. Certain things start to stand out, start to seem as if they are part of a pattern that underlies the stories. And so in determining these patterns and seeing these patterns, you become able to get a sense of what the deeper truth is. So it's important that you don't really become too enamored of the details of each story, because those often shift over time and there's no telling if they're true or not. What you need to pay attention to is the outline and the general aspect of these stories, and you need to put together the puzzle for yourself, because it is a puzzle, it is a mystery, and it is not one that is not solvable, but it's one that we do have to observe and stay abreast of as time goes on, because new pieces of the puzzle are coming out all the time. So I just wanted to make a video today that's kind of talking about these types of things, about the stance that we need to take on when seeking information, because I know a lot of you out there are information seekers just like me, and you are looking to find the truth about things. Like Mulder said in the X-Files, the truth is out there. Well, the truth is in here as well. It's within you, and that is your final barometer, how you feel about something that you read or hear. Is it the truth to you? Do you have the capacity to discern truth from falsehood? A question that you can ask for yourself, a question that you can answer for yourself. When people tell me that they're recently awakened, they say they're woke and use all the terminology and they start spouting off different conspiracy theories to me, I kind of smile and I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah, that's pretty interesting. That's pretty cool stuff. Good for you. Keep researching. That's what I tell people. Keep researching. Keep looking into it. See if you can find other sources, correlate the sources, see what is common between them, and then just let everything else go. Hold on to that and then seek more sources and keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. And this takes time. It takes time and it takes experience. Nobody's going to come to the truth immediately when you first begin this awakening journey. It's going to take some time and it's going to take some patience. It's also going to take, you know, uh, heart. It's going to take soul. Or else you'll be taken in by anything. All right. Peace, y'all.